Alright, welcome back. This is Crossroads Battle on Legendary difficulty. Bought some more officers to fill out my new units, as you can see here. Purchased harps for my first division and some good 24 pounders, as well as picking up what you see there from reputation. So my first 4 brigades are going to have harps and 55s, and then I'm going to be able to bring 2 divisions, or brigades rather, of 24 pounders with 8 and 7 guns respectively. That's going to be really beneficial. I think before I used to bring just one 24 pounder with 12 guns and leave the extra 3 just at home, but I think it works out a little bit better here, you know, with decreasing returns to scale. This is one of my favorite battles in the game. In fact, all of these battles in this kind of section here are really fun, so hope you're looking forward to them, because I certainly am. That says 9. We're actually going to be able to bring in 10. So this is one of those misleading cards here. So if you're playing on this mission, you can go ahead and build 10. I'm going to kind of cut some footage here as I was kind of seeing how close I could get these units back. We're actually going to set these guys to run, and I'm going to speed up this footage because all this early section is just us moving our troops back to behind this river line and then having them kind of move down here into the south. I found that if you run the initial troops back, the AI doesn't seem to follow you. Now there may be some advantage to having them follow you and, you know, getting some shots on them as they try to cross the river, but I just find, you know, it's a pretty narrow box where your ally units come in, and I wanted to give myself some space, so if we just have them run back, I can prevent the enemy from following me, and they'll kind of stay passively around where the flag is. So I'm having my auxiliary units, my cav and my sniper, and one of my brigades of infantry kind of move over here to the right. There's a cavalry unit that likes to hang out here, and we can kind of pin him against the corner of the map and take him out for free, and that's really going to limit his mobility. After that, he just has a few skirmishers and some artillery rather that we want to deal with. The enemy is really passive in this mission, and this is one of those misleading battles where you have an objective, there's a countdown timer, even as you can see on the top right, but you do not lose the mission, even if you do not hold the flag and the timer runs out. So there's actually really not a rush on this mission. The game, the battle does end at, I think, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so there is somewhat of a rush. I have been a little bit too passive before while playing this battle, and have had to kind of then rush to make sure that I have enough time to get all the enemies. But I think today we're going to actually have plenty of time. It's kind of about finding that opportune moment where the enemy has been degraded enough, where you've eliminated his artillery, and you've really pushed him into the right position. So as you can see, if we run our troops correctly here, we can get that enemy cav unit to just run here in the corner, and now that he's in this corner, he's kind of stuck. There's kind of some sticky locations on some of these maps. I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but enemies just seem to get kind of stuck. And when they're stuck, they're pretty helpless, and so you can take them out without taking any damage on your own troops. I'm going to kind of use this 20-pound battery that I've been building up over here, and I'm going to use it as my counter battery here. The enemy brings 2 artillery pieces. They're not particularly scary, but they are 2 units which can deal out a lot of damage to us. I'm going to have my supply wagon move up here because my sniper tends to run low on ammunition by the end of this mission. I was originally just going to have him walk straight, but then I thought, you know, the goal of us sort of lining this infantry up here is to have them in cover and have them ready to sort of defend, but to ultimately have them not be spotted, as if the enemy doesn't spot you there, he tends to just sit really passive. So we're going to get our 20-pound or 24-pound howitzers about as close as they can get and just kind of have them start doing work on this infantry. Now this isn't exactly the most realistic of the battles we're going to fight. You know, it's pretty dubious that in real life the enemy would just sit there and take canister shots from 24 pounders without doing any sort of maneuvering themselves, but hey, that's sort of the name of this campaign. We're not trying to do any reenactments here. We're just trying to break the game as far as, as best we can, using tactics and outsmarting the AI. There's nothing quite like the AI to make you boost your confidence in your abilities, right? And it's missions like this where you're really able to kind of like run him in circles. So that artillery piece is there on the right. I'm gonna have my 24 pounder kind of work on him, and eventually we're gonna actually have our cavalry and sniper move in on that position. He has 2 artillery units that like to hang out there, and after we remove this cavalry, there's really not a whole lot to defend that position. So we're gonna have our snipers move in and sort of work on degrading both his artillery pieces. And yeah, that's kind of the name of the game of this battle. It's not exactly the most high-octane one, especially here in this early part, but I think, these early maneuvers, while a little bit tedious, are really pay off, really have a good payoff as the battle really goes our way. This is probably the best result I've had on this battle so far, so I feel like I've really found a tactic, really set of tactics that are successful in this battle. So you probably noticed I was having my units run a lot there in the early part, including this Brigade A, and he's now exhausted. But that's only because I know that I'm then going to have them kind of sit here in these wood lines for a long time, so he's going to have enough time to recover. So kind of a strange thing about this game. Once a unit's at 0 condition, having them run has basically no penalty. Especially if you need them to move. If they were to walk at 0 condition, they would walk really slowly, and they still wouldn't recover condition. So having them just go ahead and run, get in position, and start regaining condition sooner is usually the best bet. And there he goes. That unit's finally gone. I can now get these auxiliary units sort of up to the western border of the map, or rather eastern border of the map, and have them start harassing the enemy artillery. And ultimately, when this battle moves into its final stage, I'm going to be kind of using this A as the as the shots into his flanks. He really doesn't put too many troops on this right side of this field here, so if we use this guy effectively, we can have him advance and fire into the flanks and convince his troops to move. I think this is a really good battle to sort of explain the way that I approach a lot of these battles. It's not so much that we want to, we really don't want to be trading with the enemy. So when we're engaging in, volleys with the enemy, the goal isn't necessarily to do damage. It is, of course, but it's actually to break his morale and get him to move. That's sort of how I think about these engagements. Is I'm trying to move the enemy out of his defensive positions, out of his positions around the cap, out of his positions where he can defend the artillery. I want to move him into a more beneficial spot for us, which is going to be, in this case, that those shallows sort of to the western side of the map. And there I want to bottle him up, sort of put him in a bucket, and then eliminate him. And that's where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. So you saw there his supply wagon is over here, which is really, really beneficial. I mean, he usually keeps his supply wagon generally on this side of the map, but man, he was really out here in no man's land for no particular reason. I'm thinking he might have sent it down there for the cavalry, but I don't imagine they needed supply. I'm not exactly sure why he's got his supply wagon so out of position here, but all the better for me. I'm gonna swoop in there, try to steal this, and we're gonna use those supplies. As if you remember, we didn't bring a ton of supply to this mission. Now, I think we probably would have been okay. Particularly our sniper unit might have ran out of ammunition if we hadn't captured this guy, which, would have been fine. At that stage in the battle, we'd already won pretty hard, but yeah, so maybe bringing a little bit more than 6,000 next time would be beneficial, but I think what we spent the money on, getting good rifles for our, first division and getting these artillery units, I think it's paid off. It's going to pay off in this battle. We're really we really outclass the enemy right now. So even though he has numbers on us, we of course have tactics, but we also just have better weapons. So there's a little bit. I'm just going to kind of use this set of houses over here to as my base of operations for the sniper unit. He's really not able to detect the sniper unit, even though now he's out in the field. And so, yeah, I'm actually going to have my 20-pounders shift fire from the closer of the two artillery to the other one. There you go. He's routing. And sometimes that's not actually ideal. It would actually have been better there if his artillery had just, stood there and took it. But instead he's going to move into a position that's a little bit harder for us to fight him. But, ultimately that's okay. We can move to this sort of northeast corner and also get some shots in on him. So there's a skirmisher unit that's going to come up here and kind of ruin our day. I don't realize it till pretty late in the engagement, but he's definitely using hunters, which have really good range. They don't do a ton of damage, but he doesn't have to do a ton of damage for it to hurt. This cavalry unit kind of takes a beating in this battle. That's probably the only regret I have from this engagement, is I think I was a little bit careless with this cavalry unit, but that's pretty par for the course with me. I tend to be a little bit too aggressive with cavalry, tend to just ultimately don't trade super well, or as well as I'd like to in this engagement here. So I'm going to have my sniper unit pull back and actually support the cavalry. And I think this is what I was talking about last battle, where I think these two weapon systems work together really well. Right now I'm not exactly showing it to the best of my abilities because my cavalry unit's taking hits there, but the fact that cavalry has such great mobility and your snipers have such nice range means they can really support each other if one gets rushed by the enemy. So I'm going to have kind of a reset here. I don't want to just trade 1-for-1 with that sniper unit, and I'm kind of hoping he backs away, but unfortunately he's going to actually continue to push those northern woods with that sniper unit. I guess it is a sniper unit for him, so it probably would have been better for us to kind of double down here and commit to removing him, or at least degrading him to a large extent before moving on to the artillery. But I was a little bit tunnel visioned. I was thinking primarily about removing this artillery so I could get going on the battle, but you actually have a good amount of time on this battle, and our 24-pounders are in really good position right now, so they're doing a lot of damage to his artillery, or his infantry rather, so it isn't a huge rush. So you saw there I turned off the fire mode for the snipers, and that's just because I don't really want them to waste their shots on this infantry that's here, and your units will sometimes do that. If they're in range and you tell them to move, they'll just shoot if they have a target nearby. So I really recommend turning off fire mode if the target you want to shoot disappears. And here comes the sniper unit again. So I'm finally recognizing it now. Like, hey, I've got to deal with this guy, or else he's gonna just continue to do damage to my cav, and he's also going to spot me. I mean, I think that's the bigger concern here is, skirmisher units have pretty good vision. They're not as good as cav, but they're still pretty decent at spotting units. And so if I let him kind of take these woods to the north with that skirmisher unit, he's going to spot my snipers, which are just to the south, and then his artillery is going to fire, and then maybe his infantry is going to charge, and it's really going to ruin this nice position that we have what we're using. So I need to kind of come up here and deal with this unit, and hopefully then have still enough time to come down and do some damage to his artillery. His artillery is spotted, so it means that the 24-pounder at least, or 20-pounder rather, can continue to do some damage. There he is. He's kind of in the woods right there. And yeah, I think I should have probably had the cavalry unit move north sooner and try to attack him from multiple angles here. Right now I'm just kind of attacking him from the front. And there's this really weird vision spot here. I mean, this is frustrating. I didn't really anticipate this, that this is a decent cavalry unit. It's still early in the game, so it doesn't have amazing stats, but You see that it's like just right there. You can't see almost anything in those woods just to the west of him. So it's kind of a funny kind of one of the things about this game is you kind of need to learn the maps, and this is a feature of this map that I didn't know about. So know for next time, try to change the way that I do that engagement so that I'm not sitting there without any vision on him. Having, you know, because like that's really where you get one-sided engagements is when one side has vision, the other side doesn't. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing in the south. So it's kind of trying to foster that with our units, but prevent his units from doing the same to us. And yeah, these hunters, man. I mean, hunters aren't that great of a weapon, but they just have such good range, and it makes it pretty hard for our poor cavalry unit here to deal with them. So I'm kind of using my sniper unit to hopefully deal with them. And finally, I realized, man, I've just got to get out of these woods, got to get out of this river crossing here. It's slowing me down. It's preventing me from doing any damage to it. And you know, luckily, this set of houses up here does give us some cover. So yeah, if I could redo this battle, I think that would change how I do this engagement, but ultimately it's not the end of the world. We're going to use cavalry primarily as our scouting unit, not as our combat unit. So while we do want to level him up, and while we do want to get him some experience, he's not the most critical item in our arsenal that we're trying to build, and right now we're just using the free sharp 55s that you tend to pick up from the enemy. So, you know, we're not losing any valuable weapons. Replacing cavalry does cost about $10 per horse that you buy, but that's not a huge price. I mean, that is a 42 every 42, but you know, we're not going to lose thousands of horses. We're just going to lose a couple hundred. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not ideal, but it's not going to break this campaign either. And yeah, now I was kind of chasing his skirmisher back, hoping to keep him routing, but I'm realizing, you know, now he's in cover. These 55s don't do that much damage, and his artillery is raining down on me. It's kind of time to back up and kind of reset for a bit. It's going to take him some time to move back over. In the meantime, I can start working again on this artillery, which is really the whole goal of this section, just to get damage in on this artillery. So unfortunately, his artillery moves sort of to the top of that hill, where that house sort of is. You can see there. So I kind of lose vision, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to try to use my cavalry to maybe at least get a second of vision, so I can get the sniper unit in there. But then I realize sometimes you can actually see a unit without seeing the unit, and there is a good example of it. So I have my sniper and my 20-pounder continue just degrading his artillery there, and now I have a good lock on that position. Unfortunately, once again, he's routing, but that's all right. He's getting pretty low. The lower we can get those two artillery units, the better. And here comes the skirmisher unit again. Didn't route too long. Now he's got to charge after me, and I don't really want to get into melee, so I need to pull my sniper unit back to support my cav. Again, skirmisher units, you know, the bane of your existence when you're on legendary difficulty. They just they spot your troops, they do damage from range, they charge into your troops, they're quick, you know, deal with those. You know, and this is kind of where, ironically, I feel like line infantry actually do the best against skirmisher units, which, you know, historically is not really how it works. I feel like cavalry units are the more natural counter to skirmisher units, but that's not how this game works, unfortunately. So we're just playing by the rules of this game. And yeah, just again, main goal here is just to keep that out. Oh gosh, that's frustrating. Just to keep that skirmisher unit out of the woods to the north so that my snipers can do their job. Boom, there goes one of his artillery units. That's great. Just one more to go. So yeah, I'm thinking about advancing here. As you can see, my supply wagon's already empty, but again, we only brought like 6,000, and we have the captured supply wagon there, so. Just advancing our troops are, as you can see, my 24 pounders have already both done like 500 kills, which is great. I mean, that's really degraded these initial infantry positions, and that's going to make convincing them to move backwards all the easier. And as you can see, my A brigade is now completely rested. They're able to run again, and they're quick, so that's going to be beneficial. We're going to get some shots here on this flank. He's going to rout, and now we can sort to push forward and kind of get this battle going. The goal, as I was saying, is to kind of push him sort of in a clockwise, or rather a counterclockwise motion, sort of starting from where we are and push him into that river crossing on the western side of the map. He is kind of going to want to retreat to the north, to the sort of like southwestern corner. And we're going to try to prevent that. It's not the end of the world if he does, but there's a lot of good cover in there for him. We don't necessarily want him to have good cover when we're trying to eliminate him. So if we can instead convince him to just push his troops west, that would be ideal. So we're kind of gonna move across, take this field, moving at first south to north, but also trying to move east to west as well. And if he's just gonna sit here and let me do the 24 pounder damage, right into his flank, I mean, that's great. We're not going to be too upset about that. This is a good, another good time to talk about kind of the idea of making sure to keep your artillery moving with your army. The 20 pounder isn't quite as important as it has huge range and is sort of being used more as counter battery, but our 24 pounders are here to kind of convince his infantry to move out of their defensive positions. And so it's really important that we're keeping that artillery moving with the army, and I think I do a pretty good job of that in this battle. Sometimes you're going to move your 24 pounders, and by the time they get in place, the enemy, or rather your infantry, has already done damage to his infantry and convinced them to move, and you're going to need to advance again, and your red 24 pounder is going to start to reload, and then have to move a second time. You know what? That's okay. It's better to have that artillery unit moving than sitting in the back just doing really minimal damage from range. So don't be shy about moving him up. There is sort of an ideal distance at any given point. You want that piece as close as you can so that it can do good damage for as long as it can, but you don't want it too close, as then it will start taking pass-through damage. Taking some pass-through damage, especially on defensive missions, isn't too critical. I would argue that if you're not taking some pass-through damage, you're probably not close enough. But you do have to be careful, as you know, every hit you take is a little bit of lost experience, and if you take too much damage, eventually you're going to get down to the point where you are at risk of losing some guns, and if you lose some guns, that's that's an extra 24 pounder that you're going to be without for the rest of the campaign, and that's kind of a bummer. So we want to be aggressive, but not too aggressive here. Now I think we're going to have these units that I have sort of stored over here on the right. They're going to kind of move into these woods and hopefully then across that shallow stream to the north. I notice here on my left that there's a lot of enemy troops. And that's a fresh, brand new division, or rather brigade, that I have over there. So I'm going to go ahead and have that guy move back. I don't need actually to advance too quickly here along the from going south to north. I just want to push him off the flag and then convince him not to go into these woods up here. As you can see, I'm having my sniper unit kind of move around onto his flank so I can get some flanking shots in. Again, just kind of got to be careful. There's a lot of units to the west here, so we got to make sure that we're not too recklessly throwing our units into that side, as there's not a lot of good cover over there. And I think that's sort of a good example. I mean, kind of go a little bit too far there, fall back. And it's important to note that you don't necessarily have to have all of your troops in constant combat. Sometimes it's enough, especially on an unfavorable side of your flank, just to kind of hold the enemy in place while your troops on the other side maneuver to sort of undermine this position. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. We're going to have this 24 pounder set up, and we're going to use the superior range of our rifles that we purchased, and we're just going to kind of try to keep him somewhat morale stunned to prevent him from doing any reckless charges. So yeah, just trying to convince this small unit of 500 to leave, and yep, there he goes. And once he's left, this mission's going to get a lot easier, because that's kind of, that wood line set right there is actually kind of one of the last dicey locations. Once again, kind of getting a little bit too aggressive with this new division. They don't have anything more than 42, so they don't have incredible range. They probably don't outrank the enemy by too much of a degree. So probably would have been better to be a little bit more passive there, but that's alright. He is supported by two 24 pounders, which is going to be helpful in convincing these guys to continue to push back. So I've got a unit across the stream now, and I'm just going to kind of roll them up, just move through these woods and kind of try to convince him, or rather try to prevent him from retreating into that northwest corner in the woods. Just want to kind of push him back towards the shallows. And yeah, as usual, I think the fallback tool is just like so helpful in situations like this when you're trying to find that ideal distance where, hey, I'm out of range for the enemy, because I don't necessarily want to be trading blows in the open there in the center. So you can kind of see the enemy goes into a little animation right when they're about to fire a volley from one of their lines. You can kind of use that to find that distance where the enemy's capable of shooting you. As soon as they raise the weapons, just immediately hit that fallback button, and they'll either fire a volley that's really ineffective because it's beyond really effective range, or they won't even fire at all, like they did, we were watching that earlier. So he's going to charge in here. I've got 3 units there to support that sentry unit. Got 2 24-pound howitzers that aren't necessarily full strength, but they're still pretty scary. And finally he stops retreating, or stops charging, and immediately starts retreating. So that's really nice. So we've got 2 units here in the northern woods, and that's nice. Is now we can kind of, using 2 units and that sniper, we can kind of present our angle in such a way as to discourage him from moving north. Kind of push him back in towards the center, into the open there, into the bucket that you can see we're kind of building now. That's sort of the story at the end of these battles. We're just kind of building the bucket. We got to put the enemy in the bucket. We've got plenty of time, so while I am moving around and I am trying to do damage, I'm not in too much of a hurry. Although you do see me running sometimes on these, and that's not because I'm in a hurry to necessarily beat the battle, but it's because I'm trying to use the time when the enemy is routing effectively. When they're flashing white, they're not shooting back at you. And so that's a really ideal time to kind of move troops into a better position. And then when they recover and are back, you can they'll be firing back, but you'll be in good position, you'll be in cover, you'll be reloaded. So that's sort of the thinking there. It's not necessarily that we are in any sort of time hurry. It's just to sort of try to take advantage of the fact that most of his units right now are routing, and I want to keep the pressure on him. So we're going to kind of build this bucket here, and I'm going to actually start fast forwarding this footage here just a little bit, because it's pretty straightforward after this point. He's going to kind of try to retreat to this southernmost corner, but we're going to have one of our units cross and try to bottle him up there and just prevent him from retreating too far. And once we get some good troops over here, he thinks otherwise. I think the key to kind of keeping units in the bucket, as you saw, they kind of tried to make a dash there, is don't over push from the opposite side. I think that's the biggest mistake, at least I've made in the past, is he clearly wants to go south. So if I take that unit from the north and march down, he's going to really just run straight through my troops to retreat south. So this is actually a pretty strange mission. I don't think there's too many missions like this. If you actually eliminate all the enemy forces, the mission doesn't automatically end. You still get the game all the way to 2 p.m. So I'm just going to use this time. You see I'm still on 8 times speed in the video, and I'm on max speed in game. And I'm just going to have my troops run back and forth. The benefit of this is the endurance stat that all units have is based on how much distance they actually move in battle. So as you can see, really good results. We got almost 12,000 kills. We only lost about 700 ourselves. That's a KDR of about 16.23. Really happy. All of our units got a lot of damage in. Only that fresh division, or rather fresh brigade, took more than 200 hits. All of our artillery got really good damage. We didn't lose any of our officers. We captured a lot of great supplies. We captured some guns, which will go into the army to support Shiloh. We picked up some artillery units, which is great. So overall, just this battle went just about as well as it could go. Again, only exception is taking maybe a few more hits on my cavalry than I'd like. So here's the final results screen. Just want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thanks so much. Bye.